Hello there, very good evening and welcome to the news tonight, your top spot for the day's top stories. I'm Tracy Shilshi and here are the headlines. Leaders of BRICS nations present a picture of solidarity. Dinner for the heads of state signals the start of the formal summit tomorrow. Russia backs the Indian Army's surgical strikes across POK. Both sides signed 16 MOUs, including key deals on defense, hydrocarbons, space and smart cities. Prime Minister Narendra Modi also holds bilateral talks with Chinese President Xi Jinping, underscores the need for increased cooperation to fight the menace of terror. "24 people are killed in a stampede in Varanasi. Incident took place when a procession of thousands moved towards Rajghat Bridge for an event organized by the Jai Gurudev sect. And 197 nations sign a major deal to cut back on greenhouse gases used in refrigerators and air conditioners. India, China, America and Europe agree on a timeline to reduce the use of hydrofluorocarbons. Well, starting with developments at the backdrop of the BRICS summit, Prime Minister Modi met Russian President Vladimir Putin today and addressed a joint media conference where Russia backed India's anti-terror surgical strikes. Both the sides also signed as many as 16 significant deals covering defense and other sectors. Here are all the details.
India and Russia on Saturday sealed a number of big-ticket defense deals. This was after Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Russian President Vladimir Putin held wide-ranging bilateral talks and resolved to fight terrorism unitedly.
The complex and changing global context, your leadership has provided stability and substance to our strategic partnership. Ours is a truly privileged and unique relationship.
Prime Minister Modi also appreciated Russia's understanding and support of India's actions to fight cross-border terrorism, indicating the recent surgical strikes inside POK.
Russia's clear stand on the need to combat terrorism mirrors of our own. We deeply appreciate Russia's understanding and support of our actions to fight cross-border terrorism that threatens our entire region. We both affirm the need for zero tolerance in dealing with terrorists and their supporters.
Putin, on his part, said both countries have close cooperation in fighting terrorism.
Налажен, например, выпуск истребителей Су-30 МКИ, танков Т-90, противокорабельных ракет комплексов «Брамос». В планах начать собирать в Индии многоцелевые вертолеты, военные фрегаты. Нацелены укреплять гуманитарные связи.
The deals include purchase of missile systems, frigates and joint production of helicopters. India will acquire the S-400 Triumph long-range air defense missile system that can destroy incoming hostile aircraft, missiles and even drones at ranges of up to 400 kilometers. Also part of the deal are 4 Admiral Grigorovich-class guided missile stealth frigates.
A lot of the discussions were focused on 4 or 5 priority areas because, again, please bear in mind the discussions are still ongoing. Some of it was on military technical cooperation, the S-400 system, the 1135.6 frigates, the progress in the K-2260 helicopters. There were 2 proposals, new proposals on which we agreed, reflected again in the joint statement about a military technical conference to be held between the 2 countries.
The 2 leaders also dedicated the Unit 2 of Kudankulam nuclear power plant and witnessed the laying of the foundation of Units 3 and 4. Both sides signed as many as 16 MOUs and made 3 announcements to boost ties in sectors like trade and investment, hydrocarbons, space and smart cities.
What you are seeing now are really big steps in Russia and India investing in each other. You know, the scale of investments that we saw announced today, whether it was in the refinery project or whether it is in the oil field, this is unprecedented.
Traditional allies India and Russia signed the Declaration of Strategic Partnership in October 2000. One of the key elements to this is to set in place the mechanism of annual summits.
Don't expect political or diplomatic persuasion from Russia to Pakistan as far as cross-border terrorism is concerned. But Russia makes it very clear, whatever equipments you need to fight a state and sponsor of terrorism, we are ready to give you. Bottom line is, keep doing the business and do the business. Akhilesh Soman for Sabha television with camera person C.V. Sudarshan in Goa.
Well, Prime Minister Modi also held a bilateral meeting with Chinese President Xi Jinping. Both sides recognized terrorism as a key issue while agreeing to strengthen the security dialogue and partnership between India and China. Prime Minister Modi reminded Xi that no country is immune from terrorism and that India and China must increase cooperation to deal with terror. Both the leaders had a brief discussion on NSG, during which the Prime Minister said that India is looking forward to working with China to realize India's membership of the elite group. President Xi also called for cooperation between India and China in different sectors like railways, industrial parks, vocational and skill training, space and communication, and information and communication technology.
Prime Minister said that today no country is immune from terrorism. Hence, this is an issue on which we cannot afford to have any differences. In particular, Prime Minister said India and China must increase their coordination in the context of the United Nations 1267 Committee and look for common ground. Prime Minister also called for the development of a long-term roadmap which would be beneficial not just for India and China, but to all countries. President Xi agreed that terrorism and violent extremism were on the increase. He alluded to the threat from ISIL, and he said that India and China must step up their counter-terrorism efforts.
And later in the evening, the BRICS leaders headed for an informal dinner. They also posed for a group photo for the media. The dinner for the heads of states will be followed by the formal launch of the BRICS summit tomorrow. All right, for more on what's developing there, of course, as far as BRICS is concerned, and also as far as India and China and today the talks that took place are concerned, we're joined by our correspondent Akhilesh Suman, in fact, who's tracking all those developments there. Akhilesh, you know, those last visuals that we just saw, really of unity and solidarity between those five leaders. However, as far as China is concerned with India, there are a lot of topics that still need to be discussed and a lot of friction and tension. Is China also carrying forward a message from Pakistan?
Yeah, you can see it is not just a two-agenda relationship between India and China. Agendas are much broader, and there are economic issues between India and China. China wants easy investment in India so that there is no bureaucratic hurdles, and China can invest in fields that is agreed by India. But Chinese disappointment that in 2 years there has been no sufficient progress as far as investment is concerned, and that is, I think, one of the major issues that China is raising. As far as the terrorism is concerned, China has assured that we will keep talking about Masood Azhar thing, and we will also keep about National Security Group, National Nuclear Suppliers Group. So in a way that you have to talk much more with Chinese, and Chinese are very pragmatic in their relationship. They know that where their interests are, and to serve their interests, they go for some sort of political maneuvering also. So this is the background in which Prime Minister Narendra Modi and President Xi Jinping made today. And it will be a top-down approach now, because things were moving for quite some time on the issue of terrorism, especially on Masood Azhar and NSG, but things were not catching up. But you must be remembering in last month, there has been a mechanism has been made about NSG and also about Masood Azhar, about cross-border terrorism. NSG will talk, and that disarmament committees from both the countries will talk. So in a way that there is a progress, you can say that there is a progress, that they want to continue the talk, they want to clear the differences, because there are some differences of opinion about cross-border terrorism. Sometimes China feels that whether it is a war continuing between India and Pakistan, or whether a state sponsored terrorists, or really a state is fighting war against India. So there are issues that India needs to convince the Chinese leadership about these things. And I think that whatever I am getting, that India will increase much more engagement with China at the political level and also bureaucratic diplomatic level, so that Chinese could be convinced that where their interest lies, with India or with other countries.
Absolutely. And very quickly, Akhilesh, after the Uri attack, we did see a lot of countries, including China, also condemning what took place there, also, giving some sort of a so-called, at least a warning really on terrorists operating from Pakistani soil. But as today, Russia, of course, applauding the Indian army on those surgical strikes. Anything that we heard from the Chinese side?
Actually, you cannot tell like this, because Chinese President Xi Jinping has still told that ISIL is a very big threat about the whole region and also about the whole world. But he did not mention specifically the cross-border terrorism that is coming out from Pakistani side. Okay. So in a way that you cannot say that the Chinese have appreciated India's action, surgical strike in Pakistani territories. There is a general understanding that yes, terrorism is a major threat that is impeding the development agenda of the whole region, also impeding the cooperation between the two countries and in many other countries. Yes. But specifically about cross-border terrorism, you cannot tell that Chinese president has appreciated what India has done in the past.
All right. We'll leave it there for now. Akhilesh, thanks so much for joining us with those details. We'll keep tracking, of course, all those crucial developments that we'll be seeing tomorrow from the BRICS summit. Meanwhile, on to another one of our headline stories, and at least 24 people were killed and 60 injured in a stampede at Rajghat Bridge near Varanasi in Uttar Pradesh today. The mishap took place when a large number of people gathered for a religious event. Authorities said that the death toll could rise further.
Tragedy struck a religious gathering in Varanasi on Saturday when a stampede killed over a dozen people and left nearly 100 others injured. The incident took place near the Rajghat Bridge between Varanasi and Chandauli, after thousands of people paid tribute to spiritual leader Jai Gurudev on the banks of Ganga. The injured were admitted to a nearby hospital where relief and rescue operations are in full swing.
आए थे सत्संग में, वहाँ से बहुत जोर एकदम भीड़ में सब लोगों ने उधर से धक्का मारा, मैं खुद को पीछे करके बैक करके बहुत बिगड़ भीड़ में उसमें दबकर मेरी माता और मैं भी बहुत, जब मैंने भी गोड़े सब दर्द हो रहा है।
बाबा जय गुरुदेव का समागम होना था वहाँ पर चंदौली और बनारस वहाँ क्षेत्र से जो जुलूस निकल रहा था, उस जुलूस में जब रामघाट लोहे के पुल के पास से वो गुजर रहा था तो वहाँ पर हुआ कि कोई पुरुष गिर गया, जिससे भगदड़ मची।
Uttar Pradesh Chief Minister Akhilesh Yadav announced 2 lakh rupees each for the relatives of those killed in the tragedy and 50,000 rupees each for the critically injured. Prime Minister Narendra Modi also expressed condolences to the bereaved families. The police ordered an inquiry to find out the cause of the stampede.
माननीय मुख्यमंत्री जी द्वारा इसमें जो मृतक उनके परिजनों को 2 लाख रुपए का मुआवजा की घोषणा की गई है, तथा जो घायल हैं उनको फ्री ऑफ कॉस्ट गवर्नमेंट के एक्सपेंस पर उनका इलाज कराया जा रहा है। ये जांच का विषय है, इसमें जांच कराई जाएगी और कि क्राउड कंट्रोल के क्या इंतजामात थे, वहाँ पे किसकी कहाँ पे चूक हुई।
A government spokesman said the situation in Chandauli is being monitored and all necessary measures are being taken. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
And here are more national news updates in Nationwide. Prime Minister Narendra Modi and President Pranab Mukherjee today paid tributes to former President Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam on his 85th birth anniversary. Construction began on a memorial for the former president at his hometown in Tamil Nadu. The former president's elder brother performed the Bhumi Puja at the memorial site. Authorities today lifted curfew across Kashmir following an improvement in the situation, but normal life remained affected due to the unrest which erupted in July after the killing of Hizbul Mujahideen terrorist Burhan Wani. Security forces also remain deployed in sensitive areas to maintain law and order. Delhi Lieutenant Governor Najib Jung has said that 400 files of the Aam Aadmi Party government are being examined by a 3-member committee constituted by him and are in the process of being referred to the CBI for investigation. The statement came hours after the Delhi cabinet for the second time resolved to call the committee unconstitutional. With a quick break, but we'll be back with more news in a bit. Stay with us.
Hello and welcome. I'm Amitan Shara and you're watching Law of the Land on Sabha TV.
I think the bill is a big step forward.
We are all for enhanced fines.
Can Indians afford these kind of penalties? Well, the question is, can we afford to lose so many lives?
Watch Law of the Land on Rajya Sabha television.
Currency Building, Kolkata. A 178-year-old structure, built in 1833 in the Italianate style, with Venetian windows, ornate cast iron gates and railings. The central hall of this building gets light through the sunlight overtoppings in the large domes. This beautiful building was originally the Agra Bank, and then it became the Office of Issue and Exchange of Government Paper Currency. It later housed the Reserve Bank of India until 1937. Today, the building is protected by the Archaeological Survey of India.
Art arisen from a multi-hued cultural canvas. Tradition and cultural fervour dating back centuries. And encircling them all, there's a magic that awes. Embrace your nation's brilliant human warmth. Watch Colours of India, Sundays at 9:30 p.m. on Rajya Sabha television.
Welcome back. Let's get you some international news, and this is crucial. 197 nations have hammered out a legally binding deal to cut back on greenhouse gases used in refrigerators and air conditioners. The major deal was reached in Rwanda and includes the world's 2 biggest economies, the United States and China. It divides countries into 3 groups with different deadlines to reduce the use of factory-made hydrofluorocarbon or HFC gases. These gases are believed to be 10,000 times more powerful than carbon dioxide. As per the deal, developed nations, including much of Europe and the US, commit to reducing their use of the gases incrementally, starting with a 10% cut by 2019 and reaching 85% by 2036. 2 groups of developing countries will freeze their use of the gases by either 2024 or 2028 and then gradually reduce their use. India, Iran, Iraq, Pakistan and the Gulf countries will meet the 2028 deadline. The 2015 Paris Climate Agreement also came into force last week, but unlike that, the deal signed in Rwanda is legally binding.
This is a very good amendment, very balanced amendment, and all the countries, they have put forth their concern, and this amendment has taken care of concerns of all the countries and their priorities. So it is a very balanced one, and it is good for climate, good for nature. We are very comfortable with that, and I think it is good for our economy and good for climate.
And if you look at it, we are going to achieve somewhere in the order of 80 to 90% of the emission reductions from these chemicals. It is staggering what this will achieve. We're talking about an amount that's comparable to thousands of coal-fired power plant emissions. It's amazing.
Vice President Mohammad Hamid Ansari today arrived in Budapest for his 5-day visit to Hungary and Algeria. Addressing the media on board the Air India One special aircraft, the Vice President said that the fight against terrorism is now a universal subject and will figure in all discussions at the highest political level.
There is a certain amount of technology that they have in which we would be interested in. So both in IT areas, certain other areas of technology, some defense technologies we are interested in, and these are things to be explored. During the visit, we would be signing 2 agreements. One, an MOU on water management, because they are a success story of how a big river can be cleaned, not only cleaned but also made navigable.
And now to the US, where Republican presidential candidate Donald Trump has rejected fresh claims of sexual assault, saying that they are part of a plot to damage his campaign. 2 new claims emerged on Friday, but Trump called them false stories which were driven by fame, money or politics. But the recent accusations have pushed back Trump's campaign, with latest polls suggesting that he's losing ground in some of the key battleground states.
Republican presidential candidate Donald Trump continues to reject accusations of sexual assault made against him, even as fresh claims emerged on Friday. Addressing supporters in North Carolina, Trump said the accusations were sick and false and driven by fame, money or politics. Trump also called himself the victim of a smear campaign.
As you have seen, I am a victim of one of the great political smear campaigns in the history of our country. They are coming after me to try and destroy what is considered by even them the greatest movement in the history of our country. There's never been anything like it.
The latest denial comes after several women reported that the Republican presidential candidate groped or kissed them without their consent. 2 new accusations came from an ex-apprentice contestant who cited a 2007 incident and a woman who described a case from the early 1990s.
Today, another woman has courageously come forward to accuse Donald Trump of engaging in an inappropriate sexual conduct with her. Summer Zervos was a candidate on The Apprentice on season 5. When she first met Donald Trump, she had great admiration for him. Unfortunately, because of what she alleges that Mr. Trump did to her behind closed doors, she is now deeply disappointed in him and feels hurt, betrayed, and embarrassed by the way that he treated her.
But despite being condemned and criticized the world over for his comments and behavior, Trump supporters remain loyal to him.
It's like he said, it's locker room talk. Locker room talk happens among men, guys, you know, in the past or in the future, as well as current. But yeah, it's just, yeah, they're just desperately trying to find something to bring up on him.
Meanwhile, Trump's rival and Democratic presidential nominee Hillary Clinton resonated President Obama's remark, calling Trump unqualified and unfit to be the president.
I've known people who've been nominated by the Republican Party. I've had my differences with them on policies and principles, but I never questioned their fitness to serve. Donald Trump is different. He is unqualified and unfit to be the president and commander-in-chief.
With less than 4 weeks remaining for the presidential elections, Clinton leads Trump in opinion polls by 7 percentage points. The latest polls show that 44% of likely voters support Clinton, while only 37% back Trump. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
And here are more international news updates in Global Buzz. The US has announced new measures to further ease trade, travel and financial restrictions on Cuba as President Barack Obama seeks to make his opening to the communist-ruled island irreversible before he leaves office in January. The changes will allow export of some US consumer goods sold online and let US firms improve Cuban infrastructure for humanitarian purposes. Egypt's military launched airstrikes against jihadi targets in North Sinai in retaliation for the killing of 12 army personnel at a checkpoint on Friday. 15 terrorists were killed in the military strike. All areas harboring the terrorists along with their weapons and ammunition depots were destroyed in the airstrike that lasted for 3 hours. A Sinai-based militant group loyal to the Islamic State had claimed responsibility for Friday's attack. Pakistani Army Chief General Raheel Sharif has expressed concern over what he says is a false and fabricated story of an important security meeting held at the Prime Minister's house. The story, published in Dawn newspaper, suggested a confrontation between the country's civilian and military leaderships. The report had created a furor in Pakistan, with the reporter who filed the story, Cyril Almeida, barred from leaving Pakistan. But Almeida was taken off the exit control list after widespread outcry. Around 55 people were killed in Iraq in various attacks on Saturday, targeting a Shiite Muslim gathering, a police checkpoint, and the family of a Sunni paramilitary leader. The escalation in violence comes as Iraqi forces get ready to launch an offensive to take back Mosul, the last Iraqi city still under the control of the Islamic State. The terror group has intensified bomb attacks in government-held areas this year as it loses more territories. Israel has suspended its cooperation with UNESCO a day after the UN cultural body passed a resolution that sharply criticized Israeli policies around the Al-Aqsa Mosque compound. The resolution condemned Israel for restricting Muslims' access to the site and for aggression by police and soldiers. It also recognized Israel as an occupying power. Palestine welcomed the resolution, though, saying it was an important message to Israel that it must end its occupation and recognize the Palestinian state and Jerusalem as its capital. And finally, let's get you all the latest from the world of sports in Sports Beat. Indian shuttler Ajay Jairam reached the semi-finals of the Dutch Open. The defending champion defeated Brazil's Coelho de Oliveira 21-15, 21-18 in the quarterfinal. He will next face Denmark's Anders Antonsen for a place in the final. World number one Novak Djokovic suffered a shock 6-4, 6-4 loss to Spaniard Roberto Bautista Agut in the Shanghai Masters semi-finals. The 12-time Grand Slam champion made 29 unforced errors against the 15-seeded and converted just 2 of the 9 break points. Agut will next face Britain's Andy Murray in the final. Murray defeated Frenchman Gilles Simon 6-4, 6-3 in the semi-final. Opener Azhar Ali became the 4th cricketer from Pakistan to score a Test triple hundred, making an unbeaten 302 runs in the second Test against West Indies in Dubai on Friday. The triple hundred also makes Ali the first batsman to score 300 in day-night Tests. Ali completed 4,000 Test runs in the process, becoming the 10th Pakistani cricketer to do so.
There have been 28 of those triple hundreds. There we go.
And that's all we have for you on the news tonight. Thanks so much for joining us.